Hi guys, this is O-level chemistry and we are looking at some general chemistry concepts. Question 1. Choose from the following organic compounds to answer the questions. Butane, butanoic acid, butyl ethanoate, ethanol, ethyl butanoate, methane, methanol, methyl propanoate, propane, propanoic acid, and propanol. So this list includes alkanes, carboxylic acids, esters, and alcohols. Each compound can be used once, more than once, or not at all. Name a compound that reacts with magnesium to make hydrogen. So reaction between magnesium metal to produce hydrogen gas is a reaction of metal with a carboxylic acid. And as the list contains two carboxylic acids, so either of them can be the correct answer. So this includes butanoic acid, or we have propanoic acid. So either of these two can be the correct answer for this question. Which compound can be oxidized to make propanoic acid? So if the product is propanoic acid, that means it contains three carbon atoms. So the product containing three carbon atoms means that the reactant will also contain three carbon atoms and a three carbon atom alcohol, because alcohols are oxidized to carboxylic acid. So a three carbon atom alcohol would be propanol. So the answer for this part is propanol. Name two compounds that react together to make an ester. So compounds that react together to make an ester are a carboxylic acid and alcohol. So we've got a different choice of acid as well as alcohol here. So the choice of acid includes butanoic acid, or we have propanoic acid. And the choices of alcohols include ethanol, methanol, or propanol. Either carboxylic acid and either alcohol would be the correct answer for this question. Which compound has the following structure? So here we have a C double bond O group having 1, 2, 3, 4 carbon atoms. So this is the carboxylic part of an ester, and the reason this has been identified as an ester is because the C double bond O group is bonded to a C single bond O group that belongs to an alcohol, and the alcohol contains two carbon atoms. So the name of this compound would be, since the alcohol part contains two carbon atoms, it would be ethyl, and the carboxylic acid part contains four carbon atoms, so this would be butanoate, ethyl butanoate, and this ester is part of the list provided. Name a compound which has a molecule with 11 atoms only. So for this, we would need to look at the molecular formula of each of the given compounds. So for that, we would have butane. Butane has four carbon atoms and is an alkane, so this would be C4H10. So in total, 14 atoms present. 14 atoms is not the correct answer. We need 11 atoms. Next, we have butanoic acid. Butanoic acid would be C3H7COOH. So in total, 3 plus 7 is 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Again, 14 atoms in total. So this is not the answer. Next, we have butyl ethanoate. Butyl would be C4H9 and ethanoate would be C, or rather OOC, and C, it's ethanoate, CH3. So this is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Already we've got 13. Then we have 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 atoms in total. So this ester is not the answer. Next, we have ethanol. Ethanol is C2H5OH. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 atoms in total. So ethanol is also not the correct answer here. Next, we have ethyl butanoate. Ethyl would mean C2H5. Then we would have OOC, and butanoate would mean C3H7 attached to the COO group. So in total, 2 plus 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 plus 7 is 20. So this ester is not the correct answer. Next, we have methane. Methane is CH4 in total 5 atoms. So this is also not the correct answer. Next, we've got methanol. Methanol is CH3OH, which is 1 plus 3, 4, 5, and 6 atoms in total. Next, we've got methyl propanoate. So methyl would mean CH3, then we've got double OC, and propanoate would mean C2H5. So 1 plus 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 atoms. Next, we have propane. Propane is C3H8. So 3 plus 8, 3, and 8 is 11. So this is the correct answer because propane contains 11 atoms, 3 of carbon and 8 of hydrogen. Let's see if there is any other possibly correct answer that we might have. So next we have propanoic acid. Propanoic acid would be C2H5COOH. So 2 plus 5 is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So propanoic acid is another possibly correct answer because it also contains 11 atoms in total. And lastly, we have got propanol. Propanol would be C3H7OH, and 7 and 3 is 10, and 11 and 12. So propanol contains 12 atoms in total and not 11. So propanol is not the correct answer. So there are two possibilities for a correct answer for this question, which are propane and propanoic acid, each of which contains a total of 11 atoms. Question 2. Choose from the following compounds to answer the questions. So the compounds are listed here. Each compound can be used once, more than once, or not at all. Give the letter of the compound which is a CFC. A CFC stands for a chlorofluorocarbon, which means it can have chlorine and fluorine both present in the same structure. So here we have A, which is having the functional group COOH, and the COOH group is a carboxylic acid group. So this is a carboxylic acid. B contains the OH functional group, which makes it an alcohol. C contains a fluorine atom and a chlorine atom in it. So C is a chlorofluorocarbon. So C is a correct answer for this question. D is an alkane because the only bonds present are carbon-carbon single bond and carbon-hydrogen single bond. E contains a chlorine atom, a fluorine atom, but also a hydrogen atom. So a chlorofluorocarbon contains chlorine and fluorine, not hydrogen. So E will not be considered as a CFC molecule. F contains a C double bond or single bond or group in it. This is an ester. G contains an OH group, making it an alcohol, and H again contains a C double bond or single bond or group, making it an ester. So the next part is give the letter of a compound which is a propanoic acid. Propanoic acid consists of 3 carbon atoms in total. So if we look at structure A, we've got a COOH group being the first carbon atom. We've got CH2 and then we've got CH3. So A is the correct structure for propanoic acid. It's propyl ethanoate. So the two esters are F and H. So if we look at F, we've got 3 carbon atoms, 1, 2, and 3 attached to the single bond O. And in H, we've got 2 carbon atoms attached to the single bond O. And the name is propyl. Propyl means 3 carbon atoms are present. So the correct structure would be structure F. And the ethanoate part would mean that the C double bond O would be the first carbon atom attached to another carbon atom. So in total, two carbon atoms in the carboxylic portion of the ester. Next, can be oxidized to ethanoic acid. So if the product is ethanoic acid containing two carbon atoms, the reactant must be ethanol containing two carbon atoms. So alcohols are oxidized to carboxylic acid. So the structure of ethanol is structure G. Next, give the letters of two compounds that react together to make an ester. So we need a carboxylic acid and an alcohol. So a carboxylic acid is A. That is the only carboxylic acid in this list. And there are two possibilities for alcohols. B is an alcohol containing four carbon atoms, which means it is butane one all. And we've got another alcohol in the form of ethanol, which is structure G. So A can combine with B to form an ester. A can combine with G to form an ester. If A combines with B, the ester formed would be butyl propanoate. And if A combines with G, the ester formed would be ethyl, and 3 carbon carboxylic acid would be propanoate. Question 3. Choose from the following gases to answer the questions below. Ammonia, argon, carbon dioxide, chlorine, ethene, nitrogen, nitrogen 2 oxide, oxygen, and sulfur dioxide. Each of these gases can be used once, more than once, or not at all. Which gas forms approximately 1% of air? So 1% of air. Air is consists of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and less than 1% of argon. And the rest of the gases comprise of a very minute percentage. So approximately one would mean that almost one, which would make this gas argon. Bleaches damp litmus paper. So an acidic gas would bleach damp litmus paper. So the only acidic gases present in this list are chlorine, or we've got sulfur dioxide. Either of these two will bleach damp litmus paper. Reacts with water to form an alkaline solution. So the only alkaline gas present in this list is ammonia. Can undergo polymerization. So a polymerization reaction involves the presence of an alkene. The only alkene in this list is ethene. It would polymerize via addition polymerization to polyethene. Is a compound formed in the atmosphere as a result of lightning activity. So lightning activity results in the formation of NO, nitrogen oxide. So nitrogen oxide in the list is written as nitrogen 2 oxide. So that would make that the answer for this part of the question. Nitrogen 2 oxide. The 2 refers to the oxidation state of nitrogen, which would be 2 positive. And to balance that, we would have oxygen in the form of an oxide ion having a 2 negative charge. And lastly, we've got is a diatomic molecule containing a total of 16 electrons. So first we select the diatomic gases here. So ammonia is NH3, it is not diatomic. Argon is monoatomic. Carbon dioxide is CO2. Chlorine is diatomic, so we select chlorine. Ethene is not diatomic. Nitrogen is diatomic, so we select nitrogen. Nitrogen oxide is diatomic. we select nitrogen dioxide. Oxygen is diatomic, we select oxygen. And sulfur dioxide is SO2, so it is not diatomic. By referring to the periodic table, the number of electrons present in a chlorine atom would be 17. So two chlorine atoms would make it 34. So chlorine is not the answer. Nitrogen will contain 7 electrons. So two nitrogen atoms would make it 14 electrons and not 16. So nitrogen is not the answer. Nitrogen has 7 electrons. Oxygen has 8 electrons. 7 and 8 would make 15 and not 16. So nitrogen 2 oxide is not the answer. And each oxygen atom would contain 8 electrons, so a total would be 16. This would make oxygen the correct gas, the correct diatomic gas for this question. Question 4. Choose from the following elements to answer the questions below. Aluminum, argon, carbon, copper, iodine, iron, lead, magnesium, nitrogen, oxygen, and sulfur. Each of these elements can be used once, more than once, or not at all. Which element has an ion which in aqueous solution reacts with aqueous sodium hydroxide to give a red-brown precipitate? So a red-brown precipitate is the color for the presence of the Fe3 positive ion, and the red-brown precipitate would be FeOH thrice. So this is Fe3 positive ion. So Fe3 positive ion belongs to iron. So the correct answer for this part of the question is iron. Next, we've got has an atom with an electronic configuration with only 5 occupied electron shells. So, some element that has 5 occupied electron shells would belong to period 5. So, out of the given elements, the one that would belong to period 5, looking at the periodic table, would give us the answer as iodine. Iodine belongs to period 5 of the periodic table. Next, has an oxide which decolorizes acidite potassium manganate 7. An oxide that decolorizes acidified potassium manganate 7 would be SO2. SO2 would react with acidified potassium manganate 7, resulting in a color change from purple to colorless. So, SO2 is an oxide of sulfur. Next, has a sulfate which is insoluble in water. So, aluminum sulfate is possible, copper sulfate is possible, iron sulfate is possible, lead sulfate is possible, magnesium sulfate is possible. So, there are 5 possible metal sulfates, out of which lead sulfate is the only one which would not be soluble in water. All the other sulfates would be water soluble. So, the correct answer here is lead. Next, provides an inert atmosphere for the extraction of reactive metals. So an inert atmosphere would be provided by either a noble gas or nitrogen. But in the reactive extraction of reactive metal, heat is also involved, so it should not react. So it cannot be nitrogen because nitrogen does react at high temperatures. So what we are left with is argon. Next, produces ammonia when it is warm with an aqueous mixture of sodium nitrate and sodium hydroxide. So this has to be a test in which we add aluminum foil. So aluminum foil would mean that aluminum is the correct answer here. So when we have a nitrate present in solution, we add sodium hydroxide and aluminum foil. And when we heat it, ammonia gas is evolved. So the answer here would be aluminum.